Chapter 61. Thunderstorm was coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Zhang Yunxi frowned when she saw the stone. Although she was not specialized in or judging, she had met many spirit or appraisers. She had grown up in divine firmament, sacred ground, after all. Normally, these spirit ores with cracks on them were called spider ores. It was universally accepted that these ores were useless as the protective layer was broken. Even if there were treasures in them, their sources would be lost easily. Thus, no matter how good the items in there, they would be useless. Mr. Shen, are you sure there's good stuff in here? Zhang Yunxi questioned. I have a different opinion about it. Upon seeing that Zhang Yunxi was questioning Shen Tian's choice, shopkeeper Song was furious. He scoffed and said, since you asked Master Celestial for help, why don't you believe him? Master Celestial is very good at what he's doing. Who are you to question him? Zhang Yunxi looked at the shopkeeper coldly and said, are you trying to scam me? Spider ore was known to be useless, so it was impossible to find a good item in it unless what was inside were immortal metal, mystic earth, or spiritual wood, which would not decay with time. Nonetheless, these were rare items that one could hardly find in the entire eastern wilderness. Many spirit or appraisers had spent years looking for them but to no avail. Although this ore was large in size and it was a product of the primordial battlefield, when looking at the cracks, it was impossible to price it for 100,000 spirit stones. The chances it contained a good item were just too low. Zhang Yunxi's words made shopkeeper Song's face red. I'll be honest with you. Indeed, I set the price slightly higher. When I bought this spider ore, it cost me only 50,000 spirit stones. However, it's our rule to set high prices for our goods. Since Master Celestial has chosen this ore, I promise you that your 100,000 spirit stones will be well spent. Shopkeeper Song said with confidence. If you cannot afford it, you don't have to buy it. However, I won't allow you to question our Master Celestial like this. If you are not buying this ore, I'll open it myself and show you what's in it so that you know how good our Master Celestial is. Then, shopkeeper Song looked at Shen Tian. Master Celestial, if you want, I can sell it to you for 50,000 spirit stones, and I will open it myself for free. Keep it for yourself so that this little girl can learn what regret is. Lu Zhijia and Xiong Meng were all shocked. Lu Tai was blaming himself for not acting fast and not kissing Master Celestial's ass in time. Why can shopkeeper Song always react so fast? I know what I need to do too, so why am I slower than shopkeeper Song? God! Why am I here when shopkeeper Song is so much better than me? On the other hand, Zhang Yunxi looked at Shen Tian and shopkeeper Song. They looked like the spirit or garden swindlers. If Shen Tian was actually a rotten apple, she would be furious. Sigh. Should I trust him? Zhang Yunxi frowned under her phoenix feather mask. Honestly, she knew some spirit or appraisers were extremely gifted and could find treasures in awful-looking ores. However, Shen Tian was too young to be one of them. Most importantly, Zhang Yunxi had realized that Shen Tian had not used any power when choosing the ore. If not all, almost all spirit or appraisers needed to use their spiritual power when casting their mystic techniques to assess ores. Thus, an advanced cultivator could notice the small change of power in the surroundings. Zhang Yunxi had not picked up anything when Shen Tian was choosing the ores. He had merely looked at the ore's shape and picked what he needed. Even the best spirit or appraiser could not do that. There was no way to see through a spider ore without some kind of mystic technique. This shook Zhang Yunxi's confidence in Shen Tian. She looked at the spider ore with mixed feelings. From a logical viewpoint, she did not believe that this ore contained something good. Simultaneously, from an emotional viewpoint, she hoped Shen Tian was an actor helping shopkeeper Song, as the latter's words had truly infuriated her. I can't afford it. It's just 100,000 spirit stones. How dare you say that I cannot afford it? You'll pay for this. Zhang Yinshi scoffed, took out 100 spirit crystals, and said calmly, it's just 100,000 spirit stones, what's the big deal? Since Mr. Shen said there is something good in this spider ore, I'll buy it. She looked at shopkeeper Song and asked aggressively, do you dare to make a bet with me? Shopkeeper Song did not know who Zhang Yinshi was, so he replied nonchalantly, sure, why not? Mr. Shen did not use any skill when choosing the ore just now. Thus I do not believe this ore contains treasure. Shopkeeper Song replied proudly, I can guarantee that the item it contains is worth at least millions of spirit stones. Zhang Yinshi nodded and said, sure, then I will take out 500,000 spirit stones as collateral. If what is inside the ore is worth more than this amount, I'll give the item to Mr. Shen for free. However, if it's not, you need to close your Sky Spirit Pavilion for 3 months. Do you dare to make this bet? Shopkeeper Song noticed that the bet was not very fair. Little girl, are you trying to be clever? If the item is worth less than 500,000 spirit stones, I need to close shop for 3 months and bear the loss myself. If it's the other way, you'll give the goods to Master Celestial for free. So either way, I have nothing to gain from the bet. Anyway, this is a good opportunity to show my sincerity to Master Celestial. Shopkeeper Song said firmly, sure. I'll make a bet. As long as I trust Master Celestial wholeheartedly, what's there to be afraid of? Shopkeeper Song stood in front of the spider ore with the special equipment to cut the ore. He had not done this for decades, so he took a deep breath before cutting. His skill was still top-notch, and the human-sized spirit ore was cut slowly into a much smaller piece. Zhang Yinshi looked at the spirit ore calmly. She trusted her eyes and experience. Even a nascent soul spirit or appraisers could not hide away from her detection. Since she had not sensed Shen Tian using any spiritual power to assess the ore, then there was only one explanation, Shen Tian couldn't know whether this ore contained treasure or not. Mr. Shen, you are good-looking and kind. I cannot allow this evil shopkeeper to misguide you. In Zhang Yinshi's eyes, Shen Tian was deemed as an actor that shopkeeper Song had hired. Zhang Yinshi needed to help Shen Tian turn over a new leaf, and she would not allow shopkeeper Song to use him again. As the ore was getting smaller, the crowd realized something was not right. Shen Tian stood beside the window in the Sky Spirit Pavilion and looked at the darkened sky. A huge dark cloud was forming directly above them, thunder rumbled in the sky, and the wind blew strongly, making the myriad spirit gardens' flags flap loudly. A thunderstorm was coming. Chapter 62. The Lightning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Whoosh. The wind blew while dark clouds formed on top of the myriad spirit garden. It was already dusk, and the sky was dark. After the dark cloud was formed, everything else became darker too. Soon, darkness enveloped the ground, depriving it of any form of light, and a depressing atmosphere encompassed a radius of hundreds of miles around the myriad spirit garden. All demons were shivering in fear as they sensed supreme pressure originating from myriad spirit garden. The mountains roared, towering trees shook, and patches of grass and trees danced like waves. The wind was howling like a dragon and tiger that shook the entire world. Then, the sky changed again, a lightning bolt thundered, and light reappeared again. The silver lightning was like a dragon cutting through the dark clouds. It tore the darkness and the dark clouds surrounding them. It was the brightest thing on earth with beautiful light. After the sighting of lightning, the thunder rumbled again. Gotcha. It was so loud that everyone felt that the thunder struck beside their ears. Then, more lightning bolts condensed in the sky, and their shapes were changing very fast. Thousands of these lightning bolts weaved together and formed a larger silver net. After a while, the silver lightning formed a white tiger. On the other side of the cloud, a turquoise lightning bolt was striking through the clouds as well. The turquoise lightning bolt was moving from side to side forcefully, just like a dragon. Both the tiger and dragon appeared on top of the myriad spirit garden. It seemed that they were going to collide with each other soon. The weird phenomenon had caught everyone's attention. Shopkeeper Song stopped what he was doing. Zhang Yunxi saw Shen Tian standing by the window quietly. His white robe was flapping from the strong wind as he stood still and looked at the lightning calmly. For a moment, the saintess from the divine firmament's sacred ground was stunned. Zhang Yunxi felt that she had wronged Shen Tian. How could someone this handsome be a liar? At the same time, Zhang Yunxi looked at the constantly changing lightning bolts and the spider Oregon. She believed that there was some connection between them. Zhang Yunxi found her idea to be funny. How could an or affect the weather? Nonetheless, she could not eliminate her peculiar speculation. Zhang Yunxi took a deep breath and walked toward Shen Tian. Mr. Shen, the shopkeeper is about to finish cutting the spider Oregon. Why are you not looking? Shen Tian smiled and looked at shopkeeper Song working on the spider Oregon. I already knew the result when I chose this or, he calmly said. Shen Tian pointed at the turquoise lightning dragon and the silver lightning tiger in the sky. He smiled and said, Fairy Zhang, look. The lightning dragon and tiger are mixing together now. Indeed, the lightning beasts tangled together in the sky. As they continued to mix together, a brand new golden arc of lightning appeared. The golden lightning stood out in the dark clouds, and it looked very dignified. The darkened sky was torn apart by the constantly spawning golden lightning. The turquoise and silver bolts of lightning continued to mix, and more golden arcs appeared. Eventually, all of the lightning was golden in color. In the end, it formed a picture of a golden Tai Chi diagram in the sky. The golden lightning arcs jumped around in the Tai Chi diagram. It was very bright in the dark sky, just like the sun shining on earth. It chased away the darkness and purified evils. Everyone was staring in the sky, admiring the Tai Chi diagram. They knew that something big was going to happen. Something really, really big. Suddenly, a bolt of golden lightning jumped out of the diagram and struck the ground. Its light was blinding, and its speed was extremely fast. Boom! The lightning landed on Sky Spirit Pavilion, forming a huge hole on its roof, and went straight for the spider Oregon. It curled itself on the ore and radiated a golden light. It was so bright that everyone in the Sky Spirit Pavilion had to close their eyes. Suddenly, Shen Tian felt power rushing in him, and it spread throughout his body. Although his body was slightly numb, he liked the feeling. After a few seconds, the light finally dimmed. Everyone slowly opened their eyes and looked at the spider Oregon. However, it was nowhere to be seen as a ball of golden light, enshrouding two jade pendants, stood in its place now. One of them was grayish turquoise in color and had an azure dragon carved on it. The other was white in color and had a white tiger on it. The two jade pendants were connected like a Tai Chi trigram. The azure dragon pendant was surrounded by turquoise lightning, while the white tiger pendant was surrounded by silver lightning. The pendants spun in the air and absorbed the remaining golden lightning. Everyone looked at them with respect, as though they were their creator. Shopkeeper Song was still holding on to his equipment, but he was lying beside the pendants. His face was covered in soot, his hair was standing up, and billows of smoke emanated from his body. Yes, he had still been working on the ore when the lightning hit it. He had received the full impact of the lightning strike, and that was the most excruciating pain he had ever experienced. Even Eunuch Gui and Qin Gao were terrified by what they saw. Although Zhang Yunxi kept her usual cool and looked at the pendants blankly, her body was shivering uncontrollably, while her lips were already dried. She was astounded. Is this the legendary divine firmament Drager pendant? She almost fainted when the thought occurred to her. Surprised, she was very surprised. No one knew how important this pair of pendants was to Zhang Yunxi or the entire divine firmament sacred ground. They were a priceless treasure. Chapter 63. I'll do anything. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' any cultivation branch's core heritage was cultivation techniques. Divine Firmament was one of the sacred grounds in the eastern wilderness, and it was specialized in lightning spells. Since ancient times, members of the Divine Firmament had been serving justice with lightning. The strongest among them could even control heavenly tribulations. It was a powerful heritage among the 12 sacred grounds, and it even topped them when it was at its peak. At that time, Divine Firmament sacred ground had been the eastern wilderness leader, and everyone had to obey them. Unfortunately, nothing could last forever. Divine Firmament sacred ground had been the biggest threat to the evil fiends 10,000 years ago, so they had decided to raid the Divine Firmament with everything they had. In the end, even the Divine Firmament's small world had been breached. It was a tragedy that no one had ever seen before. All of Divine Firmament's saints, sacred leaders, and grand elders had died in that battle. Naturally, many powerful and supreme lightning techniques were lost back then. Their best cultivation method, the Divine Firmament Lightning Imperial Sutra, was no exception either, as more than half of it had been lost in the tragedy too. The chapters on the forbidden techniques had disappeared forever. Decalamity was the Divine Firmament Lightning Imperial Sutra's top-tier forbidden technique and heritage. It could rank among the top 3 Imperial Sutras in terms of power in the entire Eastern Wilderness. All the Divine Firmament saints and sacred leaders had been using it to get strong since the beginning of the sacred ground. As long as they mastered the technique, no one in the same tier could ever defeat them. Although Divine Firmament had suffered great losses, the loss of this mystic technique had been the most impactful. Divine Firmament used to be in the top 5 among the sacred grounds. Unfortunately, since more than half of the Imperial Sutra had been lost, none of the talented cultivators could advance further at later stages, nor could they compete with the other sacred grounds' talented cultivators. As such, Divine Firmament sacred ground had lost its power and standing. Divine Firmament had been in a very awkward position during that period. In the passage of 10,000 years, Divine Firmament had elected more than 10 sacred leaders, and each one of them had tried their best to fix the heritage cultivation techniques of their sacred ground. As time passed, most of the Divine Firmament Lightning Imperial Sutra had been recovered. However, it was impossible to fix the last chapter of the forbidden technique, Decalamity. It was the most powerful forbidden technique that the Lightning Emperor had recorded in the Imperial Sutra. It was not possible to recover this chapter without referring to the original copy unless someone was as talented as the Lightning Emperor himself. Zhang Yunxi had never imagined that she would find the heritage her sacred ground had been searching for centuries in a little or workshop in the country of fire. This Divine Firmament Drager pendant was also called Divine Firmament Calamity, and 2 separate techniques were recorded in their respective parts. When one combined the 2 pendants and activated them with the special incantation from the Divine Firmament Drager pendant, Decalamity would appear for cultivation. The pendants were the Divine Firmament sacred leader's trademark 10,000 years ago. Zhang Yunxi used the special incantation spell and struck the pendants with it. The jade pendants absorbed the spell, and the light surrounding them dimmed. Zhang Yunxi held the jade pendants with care. Her eyes were filled with tears even though she used to be unflustered about everything. No one knew how excited Zhang Yunxi was at that moment. Upon seeing the tearful Zhang Yunxi, Lu Tai snorted. "If I'm not mistaken, you didn't believe in our Master Celestial, right? Why are you crying now? I remember someone saying with confidence that nothing good would come out of this ore. If the item was worth more than 500,000 spirit stones, what would you do again?" Lu Tai's mocking words alarmed Zhang Yunxi, and her smile started to disappear. "That's very true." Zhang Yunxi had tried to laugh at shopkeeper Song and come up with a bet just now. If the item was worth more than 500,000 spirit stones, she would give it to Shen Tian for free. How could she know this would happen? It would already be a miracle if this spider ore contained a spirit artifact. Who would know that it actually contained this divine firmament Drager pendant? The power of lightning had caused the previous cracks on the ore. 500,000 spirit stones was nowhere near the divine firmament Drager pendant's worth, not even 10,000 times that amount. Now that Lu Tai brought up the bet she had proposed earlier, Zhang Yunxi was very helpless. She would have given the item with no hesitation if it were something like immortal metal, mystic earth, or absolute water. However, she could never give up on this pendant in decalamity. It was the only hope that their divine firmament could be successful again. Zhang Yunxi blushed with embarrassment and bit her lips. She took a deep breath and said, "These jade pendants are essential to me. Could Mr. Shen just let me keep them? I'm willing to do anything for you, even if I have to." In fact, if Zhang Yunxi wanted to snatch the pendants with force, she could do that easily, and no one could stop her. However, she was too proud to do so. Zhang Yunxi had already made up her mind that as long as Shen Tian was willing to let her keep the pendants, she would do anything for him, even if she had to marry him. It was her fault that things had turned out like this, and she could only suffer the consequences in silence. Zhang Yunxi had already braced herself for the exorbitant price Shen Tian was about to announce. Surprisingly, Shen Tian only looked at the sky and smiled. "Fairy Zhang, it's okay. Like I've said, if we are fated, my services will be free, but if we are not, no amount of gold would fancy me. There's fate between Fairy Zhang and me. You've already paid for the ore, so this treasure belongs to you. You don't have to worry about the bet with shopkeeper Song, just keep the item. If there's a chance in the future, you can repay me then." Shen Tian looked at the dark clouds in the sky as they started to scatter. He knew these pendants were precious, but he was unsure how special and what their uses were. Weren't the pendants tempting to him? Or coarse? The problem was that he did not dare to keep them for himself. If Shen Tian had discovered the pendants alone, he would have kept them. It would be stupid if he did not do so. Unfortunately, the entire Myriad Spirit Garden and the nearby cultivators knew that this treasure was here in the Myriad Spirit Garden. Shen Tian did not dare to keep the items in such a situation. Given his slightly white halo, he would definitely be unable to handle this item. At most, he could only share the item's providence. The coffin dance song one would most likely be played for him if he tried to keep the items for himself. Also, special incantations were needed to combine them into the divine firmament Drager pendant and activate it, so they would be useless for Shen Tian. Thus, the best choice was to just give the jade pendants to Zhang Yunxi. If they were useful to her, she would definitely owe him a big favor, and he would gain lots of benefits in the future. Shen Tian understood that point very well. There was danger everywhere in the cultivation world. If he did not have enough power and providence, it would be better for him to be slow and steady. After all, the turtle won the race in the end. Chapter 64. Finally, I'm green. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, how could I do that? I never go against my own words. Since I've already agreed to the bet, I'll not be a sore loser. Zhang Yunxi blushed when Shen Tian said that she could keep the jade pendants. She had been an incredibly independent and strong woman from a young age and had always been unwilling to be subservient to others. It was her fault this time to have doubted Shen Tian and made a bet with shopkeeper Song. Thus, she accepted her loss, and the pendants belonged to Shen Tian. She just wanted to use something to trade for these jade pendants. She took a deep breath and stared at Shen Tian. "Mr. Shen, please do not disgrace me. According to the bet we had, these jade pendants belong to you now. I just hope that Mr. Shen could be kind enough to trade them with me. I'm willing to offer anything. Just state your price." Her request rendered Shen Tian speechless. Is this little girl crazy? I already said I don't need any repayment, and you can have the pendants. Why must you take something to exchange for them? What a waste of time. Shen Tian looked out of the window. The clouds in the sky were gone. The strange phenomenon in the myriad spirit garden would definitely attract strong people, so he had to get rid of these pendants as soon as possible. He looked at Zhang Yunxi and thought for a moment. Are you sure you are okay with anything? Damn it. Seriously now, is he really going to ask me to marry him? But these pendants are really important. There is no other way. Zhang Yunxi sighed and replied, yes. Shen Tian smiled and said, then, I'll take your mask. The mask Zhang Yunxi was wearing was very expensive looking, and it must be a rare item, too. Shen Tian was running out of time and needed to get out of here fast. Shen Tian's offer stunned Zhang Yunxi. She took a deep breath and said, are you sure, Mr. Shen? Shen Tian nodded. Zhang Yunxi bushed under her phoenix feather mask. I've wronged Mr. Shen again. He's not the filthy person I thought. Why does he want my mask? Does he want to know what I look like? Or does he want to keep the mask so that he can think of me any time he wants? This phoenix feather mask was very meaningful to Zhang Yunxi. It was a supreme-grade spirit artifact passed down from her mentor, Essence Venerate Crimson Feather. It could block all forms of detection and could control one's own presence to others too. Zhang Yunxi had never revealed her face after receiving the mask. Even in the divine firmament sacred ground, very few people knew how Zhang Yunxi looked. Now, Shen Tian was using the divine firmament Drager pendant to exchange for her mask. Zhang Yunxi did not understand why Shen Tian was willing to make such an unfair trade. Is it just to look at my face for once? Has he fallen in love with me in just this short duration? Zhang Yunxi blushed at the thought of it. She took a deep breath and said, sure, no problem. Then, her mighty aura erupted and concealed the two of them in tiger-shaped lightning. Her aura blocked everyone else from watching and listening to them, so Zhang Yunxi slowly took off her mask. Her skin was like snow, white and fair, and her eyes were like the stars in the sky. Unlike little spirit fairy's liveliness, Li Lianer's cuteness, or Zhuo's pithiness, Zhang Yunxi was more toward the cooler end. She had the look of an independent woman. Although she looked very attractive, nobody would ever make dirty thoughts about her. She was a female fighter that was no weaker than any other male. Shen Tian recalled a few ancient heroines that shared her vibes, Mulan, who had participated in the war on her father's behalf, and Mu Guiying, who was the army commander in her era. Zhang Yunxi interrupted Shen Tian's thoughts. I know what you mean by this. But please excuse me as I really have something important to do now. I cannot stay with you at this moment. To be honest, this divine firmament Drager pendant is my divine firmament sacred ground, heritage treasure. Now that everyone witnessed the strange phenomena in the sky, I need to bring the jade pendants back to the sacred ground. If I'm able to bring these pendants back and complete my mission, I'll come back for you. I'll accept your request then. However, if I'm short-lived and do not make it to the sacred ground, please do Yunxi a favor. Shen Tian was confused about what Zhang Yunxi was saying. What do you mean? You know what I mean. I'm just asking for a mask. What's all the explanation for? Shen Tian did not really bother much with Zhang Yunxi's request. Indeed, if Shen Tian took the pendants, something might really happen to him. But since this fortuitous opportunity belonged to Zhang Yunxi in the first place, there was no way anything wrong was going to happen to her. Thus, Shen Tian was doing her a favor with no cost at all. Shen Tian said firmly, Fairy Zhang, go on. I'll do it. Zhang Yunxi smiled and said, are you not going to listen to what the thing I need help with is? Shen Tian replied without hesitation, I'm fated with you, Fairy Zhang. I'll do whatever I can. Naturally, Shen Tian's words touched Zhang Yunxi. She took a deep breath and pierced her finger. Her blood dripped on the divine firmament Drager pendant and was absorbed. Then, Zhang Yunxi made several hand seals and cast spells into the pendants. The divine firmament Drager pendant lit up again, and 3 golden rays of light flew toward Shen Tian's head and disappeared. Shen Tian felt that new information was flooding his mind. It was 3 mysterious heritage arts, 5 heavenly lightning cultivation technique, lightning emperor body tempering art, and the long-lost prestigious heritage art, decalamity. After Zhang Yunxi finished transmitting them, her complexion looked pale. She smiled and said, "I've copied and transmitted all 3 heritage arts in this divine firmament Drager pendant to you. If something happens to me, and I cannot bring the divine firmament Drager pendant back to the divine firmament sacred ground, please visit the sacred ground personally and help me pass down these heritage arts. Yunxi will repay your kindness in my next life." The lightning tiger aura shattered after saying the last bit, and her divinity formed an illusionary mask to cover up her face again. Zhang Yunxi held the divine firmament Drager pendant and flew off. She had to travel thousands of miles and pass the pendants to the current divine firmament sacred leader. Her duty would only end when she completed this task. Shen Tian felt the scenario was very familiar. I should worry more about myself instead of her. After obtaining the pendants, Zhang Yunxi's halo was so bright that it resembled a mini-sun. Who would dare to rob her with her outflowing providence? She could kill them easily. Shen Tian smiled and stored the phoenix feather mask. He then took out his mirror and looked at his reflection. Shen Tian was so touched and thrilled that he screamed, "Green! Finally, I'm green!" Chapter 65. Divine Lightning Origin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Yes, his halo was green. As such, Shen Tian felt very touched. Although his reflection was still very handsome and smart-looking, a marking had somehow appeared on his forehead. Shen Tian believed it was due to receiving the heritage arts from Zhang Yunxi. The marking had the shape of golden lightning. However, that was not Shen Tian's focus, as all he cared about was the halo on his head. Not even a black spot remained, the unlucky black color was finally gone. The halo was now giving off a white light with spots of greenness on the outside. Although it was not very obvious, it was a very good start. He did not have to worry about his pets drowning in the pond in his imperial garden, nor did he have to worry about some random kid destroying his plants. He would not need to worry about stepping on a banana skin when trying to play the hero, either. I'm not my old self anymore. I've changed. I'll try even harder to make my halo greener. Shen Tian took a deep breath and smiled. Your Highness, what made you so happy? Asked eunuch Gui and Qin Gao. It's nothing, just having some thoughts. Shen Tian looked at eunuch Gui and Qin Gao and was stunned. They had the golden marking on their forehead too. They were identical to the one Shen Tian had. The golden marking made them both look funny as their hair was messy, and their faces were charcoal black. Shen Tian quickly looked around. Lu Tai, Zhen Jijia, and Xiong Meng all had the same marking. However, Shen Tian felt that his halo had the most prominent color. Eunuch Gui and Qin Gao were ranked second, and as for the rest, theirs were much dimmer. Now that the marking was added, the Tinder divinity in Shen Tian's body started to become more active. It was like a kid. Soon, shopkeeper Song woke up. What happened to me? He stood up slowly. His face was even darker than eunuch Gui's, and he had the golden marking too. But his marking was more prominent than eunuch Gui's. Shen Tian fell deep in thought and scanned everyone's halos. He noticed that everyone's halos had changed after the golden marking appeared. They were much brighter now. At the same time, some that were light green before exuded a dark green hue now. Some that emitted hues of red before had red spots branded on their halos now. The most prominent one was shopkeeper Song's. His original halo had been light green before, but it was covered with red spots now. His providence had increased drastically. Shen Tian suspected that the golden marking had something to do with the pendants. Everyone shared a small portion of Zhang Yunxi's fortuitous opportunity, and thus their providence increased. Shen Tian quickly said, "Everyone, please check if anything happened to your body." The crowd was confused. Then, they spotted the golden lightning marking on each other's foreheads. Shopkeeper Song. There's a lightning symbol on your forehead. What are you talking about? You are the one with that symbol. Your markings are so similar. I have the marking too. Suddenly, Shopkeeper Song recalled something and exclaimed, was this caused by the yin-yang mixed divine lightning? Zhen Jijia asked, what? What is this yin-yang mixed divine lightning? Shopkeeper Song explained excitedly, it's the treasure ranked 88th place in the divine lightning list. It's the only divine lightning that can be cultivated in the top 100 divine lightning list. Shopkeeper Song's voice was shivering with excitement. In the cultivation world, the yin-yang mixed divine lightning was by default postnatal, as the natural one would hardly appear since ancient times. If it did appear, it could be ranked among the top 3 in the divine lightning list. Even though it was postnatal, it could easily strike fear in the enemy. The reason was very simple, the postnatal yin-yang mixed divine lightning could be mass-produced. It was the divine firmament sacred ground's signature divine lightning 10,000 years ago. According to the ancient records, if anyone in the divine firmament sacred ground could cultivate the lightning imperial sutra to a certain extent, they could mix both yin and yang into the divine lightning and refine it to yin-yang mixed divine lightning. Although it was only ranked 88th, its quantity potential was huge. The divine firmament sacred ground would produce a saint every 100 years and a sacred leader every 1,000 years in that era. After 5,000 years, there would be about 50 people that had learned the Imperial Sutra. They were all qualified to learn the forbidden technique, and almost all of them could use yin-yang mixed divine lightning. This divine lightning was mighty when it was used together with the lightning-type dharma spells in the divine firmament sacred ground. All the evil fiends from the outside were terrified of this divine lightning's power. Otherwise, they would not have worked together and raided the divine firmament sacred ground. Shen Tian believed the cause was the divine firmament Drager pendant. It had been sealed for over 10,000 years, and the Tao talisman in it must have been continuously refining the spirit qi in the surroundings, just like a cultivator working on refining the yin-yang mixed divine lightning. After such a long period, it would be natural for it to produce so much divine lightning origin. The heavenly tribulation that had struck the divine firmament Drager pendant must probably have dispersed the origin. As such, the dispersed energy found its way into Shen Tian's body. It was most likely the case for the rest too. So strange. My divinity has a lightning attribute now, exclaimed Shopkeeper Song. He tried to release his divinity through his fingertip, and he saw silver lightning coming out. It was sparkling around brightly. Even Shen Tian was shocked by it. I'll try it too. Xiong Meng shouted and released his spirit qi. The white lightning surrounded him immediately, and he looked like a white polar bear now. Eunuch Gui and Qin Gao exchanged a look and activated their divinity too. 2 huge demonic sunflowers appeared behind them, a rather creepy spectacle. Surprisingly, turquoise lightning was surrounding their demonic sunflowers too. It was not only majestic looking like the white lightning but also scary. Eunuch Gui suddenly used his sunflower movement technique, and a red purple shadow flashed. Eunuch Gui appeared a few meters away in an instant. His face was covered in shock as he exclaimed, "My speed is doubled. Who knew our prince would choose a random ore and get the treasure again? Finally, my prince's providence has improved. If concubine Lan were to know it, she must be delighted." Chapter 66. He actually saw through my disguise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios on the other side. Shopkeeper Song stared at the lightning jumping on his fingertips before looking at Shen Tian again. His burning gaze instantly turned so intense that it was unprecedented. Master Celestial, to think you had predicted such a result beforehand. I've predicted this result beforehand. Naturally, that's impossible. Currently, Shen Tian could only see another person's fortuitous encounter from the omniscient point of view. If the future changed due to him intervening, then Shen Tian would not be able to see that new future. For example, eunuch Gui obtaining the demon book of Hugo was, of course, a huge fortuitous opportunity. However, Shen Tian would not be able to see beforehand the scene in which he gave eunuch Gui the demon book of Hugo. The reason? There were countless possible futures, and Shen Tian was the variable within them. Due to his spur-of-the-moment decisions, he assisted in producing opportunities for others. Naturally, he would not be able to predict such a future beforehand himself. Shen Tian had not seen such a fortuitous opportunity on Shopkeeper Song and the others' halos previously. Most likely, if it had progressed according to the original plot, they would not have been able to obtain the divine lightning origin. However, it might be due to the butterfly effect that such an outcome was changed. Shen Tian was unable to predict others' additional fortuitous opportunities that happened due to his involvement. However, given such a good opportunity, would he admit that he could not have predicted such a future? Shen Tian smiled as he touched his mustache. What do you think? Shen Tian's words instantly caused Shopkeeper Song to worship Master Celestial even more. Indeed, as long as I firmly cozy up to Master Celestial and do not waver, then he will definitely not mistreat me. Fortunately, I did not chicken out when betting with that little girl. If not, how could I have obtained this divine lightning's origin? Where did she go? Shopkeeper Song was slightly stunned. Master Celestial, where did that little girl go? Shen Tian smiled slightly. Little girl. Shopkeeper Song, you're surely courageous to call her that. Shopkeeper Song replied, she dared to question Master Celestial's choice. Just what is that little girl's background? Shen Tian revealed a wicked smile. She is the divine firmament sacred ground saintess, Zhang Yunxi. When Shen Tian finished, Shopkeeper Song's legs instantly turned soft, and he collapsed on the ground. OMFG. That little girl is divine firmament sacred ground saintess. WTH. I'm feeling a little dizzy. Shopkeeper Song looked at Shen Tian, full of resentment. Master Celestial, I only talked back to the saintess to help maintain your dignity. You can't just leave me to fend for myself. Shen Tian was caught between laughter and tears upon seeing how Shopkeeper Song was about to cry from being so anxious. He smiled and said, relax. Since you're my subordinate, she won't make things difficult for you. From what Shen Tian had seen, Zhang Yunxi did not seem to be someone who was petty. Also, this time she was able to obtain the divine firmament Drager pendant from the Sky Spirit Pavilion. T was the best thing to happen in the previous 10,000 years for her divine firmament sacred ground. It was a historical moment, so who would have the time to care about a small character such as Shopkeeper Song? Nevertheless, Shopkeeper Song would most likely be unable to get the 10% profit he should earn from cutting the ore. If he went to the divine firmament sacred ground, he might be able to get some benefits, but the question was, would he dare to go? Since I am Master Celestial's subordinate, she won't make things difficult for me. Shen Tian's casual reply left Shopkeeper Song awestruck. Master Celestial truly is Master Celestial. He's on equal footing as the saintess, and she even has to give him face. Shopkeeper Song suddenly recalled that when Zhang Yunxi had agreed to the bet, she had said that if the item cost more than 500,000 spirit stones, she would give it to Master Celestial for free. Was the saintess purposely flattering Master Celestial earlier? SSS, is it possible that the saintess status is lower than Master Celestial's status? Shopkeeper Song could not help but be astonished. Even a saintess from a sacred ground would compete with us to please Master Celestial. How can we even win against her? After analyzing the whole thing, Shopkeeper Song felt that he could not wait anymore. Initially, he had wanted to interrogate that fellow who pretended to be Master Celestial before handing him over to Master Celestial. However, it now seemed that one needed to cozy up to Master Celestial as early as possible. If the Saints decided to fight with them to Master Celestial's attention, how could Shopkeeper Song guarantee and maintain his position? As such, Shopkeeper Song hurriedly said, "Master Celestial, I have something to tell you." He pulled Shantian to one side and said mysteriously, "Master Celestial, I have caught a little thief that pretended to be you." Pretended to be me. Shantian was stunned. He had only adopted the Master Celestial persona for a few days, and there was already someone pretending to be Master Celestial. The speed of piracy is this fast, even in the cultivation world. Shopkeeper Song took out a token and handed it to Shantian. "Master Celestial, please take a look." Shantian checked the token, and he instantly seemed interested. He let out a cough and asked, "This token is?" Shopkeeper Song sneered and said, "It was on that little thief. He dared to claim to be the sixth prince of the country of fire, Shanao." Shantian asked guiltily, "What does he pretending to be the sixth prince, Shanao, have to do with me, Shanaotian?" Shopkeeper Song was momentarily stunned. He then whispered, "Master Celestial, is it inconvenient for you to reveal your identity?" Shantian's lips twitched slightly. "Shopkeeper Song, haven't you thought of the possibility that this Shanao might be legit?" Shopkeeper Song replied with a smile, "Master Celestial, you must be joking. My son has already told me everything. You met my son when he was being rude to Miss Linger and taught him a lesson. Thus, he was fortunate enough to learn Master Celestial's true identity. You're already here, so how could that Shanao be legit?" Shopkeeper Song's revelation shocked Shantian. "How is it possible? He actually saw through my disguise." Shantian suddenly glanced at Eunuch Goe and Qin Gao, who were standing at the side, and realization dawned upon him. No wonder. It should be Uncle Goe and Qin Gao who follow me that exposed my identity. I was too careless. The person that beat up young Shopkeeper Song is Uncle Goe. Seeing Uncle Goe following behind me, how could young Shopkeeper Song not associate him to me? In addition, given my outstanding appearance, even if I disguised myself with a mustache, my handsomeness did not decrease at all, so I still stand out. It's no wonder young Shopkeeper Song confirmed that I was Shanao. When thinking to this point, Shantian could not help but feel helpless, as this would be the fake Shanao meeting the real Shanao. However, Shantian could not just turn his back on Shanao and leave him. They were siblings, after all. At the same time, Shanao had given him face by releasing Qin Gao previously, so it would be unfair if Shantian were to just turn a blind eye and leave. Not to mention that the Song father and son duo firmly believed that Shanao was fake. What if they decided to kill him? Thus, Shantian decided to first go and take a look. If the person Shopkeeper Song had captured was also an imposter, then it went without saying that Shantian would continue impersonating Shanao. If they really captured my sixth brother. SSS, just the thought of it is stressing me out. Shopkeeper Song, bring me to take a look at that fella. Then Shantian turned and ordered Eunuch Goe not to follow him in case Shanao recognized him. Shantian followed Shopkeeper Song toward the chamber with a heavy conscience and touched the mustache on his face, clearly worried. Although Uncle Goe was the reason young Shopkeeper Song recognized me, it doesn't mean that my disguise can completely conceal my handsomeness. Sigh, what can I do? How troublesome. Chapter 67. He is my brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Shantian suddenly had a bright idea. He took out the phoenix feather mask that Zhang Yinshi had left behind and wore it. One had to say that the size was quite suitable, and there was also a lingering fragrant scent. Yeep, the mask completely conceals my face now. At the very least, my sixth brother won't recognize me. After wearing the mask, Shen Tian took out his mirror to have a look and couldn't help but exclaim, "This is the perfect disguise." Then, he resumed following shopkeeper Song and headed toward the Sky Spirit Pavilion's chamber. When the door opened, they could see young shopkeeper Song dozing off beside the door. Meanwhile, the number of palm prints and bruises on Shen Ao seemed to have increased from before. Shen Tian's lips twitched slightly upon seeing the tragic figure of Shen Ao, whose hands were bound behind his back, on the cross. SSS. You guys sure focused all the beating on his face. Initially, Shen Ao was dispirited, but after Shen Tian finished saying his piece, his eyes instantly lit up. He stared at Shen Tian, and in the next instant, his eyes betrayed fear and terror. This voice sounds very familiar. SSS, is it possible that it's you? 13th brother. WTH, all he needed to recognize me was my voice. Shen Tian felt a shiver run down his spine. Although he was astonished, he hurriedly shook his head. No, I'm not. Don't speak nonsense. The longer Shen Ao stared at Shen Tian, the more the terror his eyes betrayed increased. So that's why. How could I not be that unlucky? Of course I would be mysteriously kidnapped once the moment I spent my foot in Myriad Spirit Garden. It's because my uber-unlucky 13th brother is also here. Had I known this earlier, I wouldn't have dared to come here. Sigh, it's really just my luck. Shen Ao sized up Shen Tian before smiling bitterly and saying, 13th brother, you can stop lying. Look at the shoes you are wearing. They are custom-made for royalty. The stunned Shen Tian looked down and took a closer look. He was indeed wearing a pair of black boots with gold thread. An azure green jade pendant was embedded at the boot's side, and the number 13 was carved on it. SSS, sixth brother is indeed sixth brother. He really is our country of fire's once-in-a-century rare talent. Although his face is swollen to the point his eyes are indiscernible, they are still as sharp as ever. No matter how Shen Tian admired Shen Ao in his heart, he could not allow him to expose his identity. Thus, Shen Tian lowered his voice and gradually walked toward Shen Ao. I don't understand what you are saying. Stop. It's okay, never mind. If you don't understand, just stand there to talk, Shen Ao hurriedly said. I understand, you're not my 13th brother. You're an emotionless killer, right? Shen Ao helplessly said, brother, could you tell me why you kidnapped me? Firstly, I do not wish to fight for the throne, and secondly, I have not bullied you before. Not to mention that even if you killed me, there would be no benefits for you. Presently, Shen Ao's desire to survive was unprecedentedly high, so he tried to persuade Shen Tian with earnest words. He could not wait to instantly disappear from where they were and leave as far as possible from this place. He would never visit such a place anymore in the future. Truthfully speaking, I am to blame as well. Since I encountered my 13th brother a few days ago, why did I still choose to leave the palace? It's no longer indirect contact, but a direct, face-to-face encounter. Why do I suddenly have a feeling that I won't be able to walk out of this room? Shen Tian could not help but sigh when he noticed the sixth prince's terror-stricken face. Sixth brother. Do you think that I am an idiot? You say that you believe I'm not the 13th prince, yet you call me brother in the next instant. It's obvious you've seen through my upgraded disguise. How could I possibly let you go without worrying? What if after I release you, you hold a grudge and backstab me afterward? Although my halo is already green now, and I won't be as unlucky as before, as the saying goes, the concern of a thief is more dreadful than his action one. The mere thought of a genius with a green and red halo holding a grudge against him scared Shen Tian witless. Shopkeeper Song, who was standing at the side, had roughly understood the situation. He carefully asked, so, Master Celestial, you're not Shen Ao but Shen Tian. Shen Tian could not help but roll his eyes. What do you think? No wonder, I understand now. Shopkeeper Song's lips twitched, and then he turned and slapped his son on his face. You good for nothing. You haven't learned a lesson after being beaten, he barked. Master Celestial had clearly told you that he was the 13th prince, Shantian, after beating you up. How did you mishear and think he was the 6th prince? You're even deafer than shopkeeper Wang next door. Young shopkeeper Song was confused after being slapped. He looked at Shantian in a daze as he recalled the situation that day. He remembered that Master Celestial had clearly said that he was the 6th prince. I remember that I didn't mishear it. Is it possible that my head was hit so hard that I imagined hearing it? The bewildered Shantian laughed softly. Then he coughed lightly and stared at young shopkeeper Song coldly. What do you think? Young shopkeeper Song was terrified. I have made Master Celestial upset. He immediately lowered his head in shame and said, most likely, I misheard. In that case, this person is. Is it possible that he is really the 6th prince? Upon thinking of that possibility, the father-son duo started to panic. At the same time, young shopkeeper Song's words made Shen Ao feel even more wronged. He had been under the impression that they had kidnapped him as a part of a major conspiracy that targeted him. Country of Fires once. Century rare talent. Who would have thought that I suffered so much pain because that young shopkeeper did not hear clearly? So all the pain I suffered and the slaps I endured were in vain. Nothing good happens once my 13th brother is involved, indeed. Boo-hoo-hoo, I was still not cautious enough. I should not have left the palace and come here in the first place. If not, I wouldn't have suffered such inhuman treatment. After thinking this through, Shen Ao pulled a long face and said, since it is all a misunderstanding, then forget it. 13th brother, tell them to let me go. I promise I will not hold a grudge. Shen Ao's assurance caused young shopkeeper Song's eyes to light up before he asked, Master Celestial, Father, since the 6th prince promised that he would not hold a grudge, how about we let him go? Shopkeeper Song looked at Shantian and asked, Master Celestial, what do you think we should do? Shantian looked at Shen Ao as if trying to discern if what he said was true or not. Then, he answered Shopkeeper Song with a question of his own, Shopkeeper Song, do you think my 6th brother will not hold a grudge? When Shopkeeper Song heard Shantian's answer, he instantly revealed an understood expression. He took a deep breath and gradually walked toward Shen Ao. I understand. Since this has already happened, rather than hoping the other person will not hold a grudge, it's better to settle it ourselves. Master Celestial means that since we've already made a mistake, we should go through it regardless of the consequences. As such, taking advantage of the fact that no one knows now, we should directly kill him, right? Just in case he tries to fight against you for the throne in the future. Shen Ao's face drained of color and was filled with horror. Meanwhile, Shantian rolled his eyes, and his face was filled with helplessness. Question. What I just asked was a question. What the F***ck did you hear that made you think I wanted you to kill him? How could I be that cruel and let someone kill my dear 6th brother? That is my most beloved brother. Chapter 68. Father and Son, Forgetting Pill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios shopkeeper Song pulled out the cutting knife and gradually walked toward Shen Ao. Shen Ao's eyes were full of terror. Shopkeeper Song's breathing also became faster and heavier, indicating how nervous he was. Suddenly, he thought of something, turned, and slapped young shopkeeper Song's head. You good for nothing. You're the cause of this, so settle this yourself, snarled shopkeeper Song and stuffed the knife into his son's hand. Son, don't be afraid. This is also a training chance for you. Young shopkeeper Song's lips twitched. Bullsh*t. What F*** king training chance? Like who would want such a chance? Our Sky Spirit Pavilion is a legit and legal business. We're not some illegal shop. Although young shopkeeper Song was a cultivator, each cultivator differed from each other. Some cultivators relied on killing monsters to earn money, so they had an abundance of battling experience, and their hands were full of blood. Meanwhile, other cultivators relied on their brains, selling spirit pills, spirit artifacts, and ores to earn money. The Song family had been in the ore business for generations now. Normally, they would not even kill chickens, not to mention a real living person. Ednel.co, Father, I don't dare to kill either. Shantian felt a headache as he watched how frightened the three people were. However, no matter how much his head hurt, he could not allow the idiotic father-son pair to kill his sixth brother. Shantian sighed and opened his mouth to stop shopkeeper Song and his son. Although he felt it was unnecessary, as even if he did not stop them, those two would not really dare to do the deed either. At that moment, however, Shan Ao screamed hysterically, "Don't kill me." Everyone looked at Shan Ao. They could see that fear and terror dominated Shan Ao's face. Shan Ao swallowed a mouthful of saliva and forced out a smile so ugly it was like he was crying. 13th brother, and the two of you. Aren't you just afraid that I will find people to take revenge against you after releasing me? If so, you don't need to worry. I can swear on my honor that I will definitely not do that. If that still cannot erase your worries, then you can feed me the forgetting pill. Shan Ao's solution stunned the father-son pair. That's right. If they were worried that Shan Ao would seek revenge later, then feeding him a forgetting pill would resolve their current predicament. Forgetting pill was an extremely common pill in the cultivation world, and its effect was very simple: it could erase the consumer's most recent memories. Cultivation was not only increasing one's strength but also one's mental fortitude. Many a time, a cultivator's mental state would be influenced by some tragic events, such as if one's cultivation partner broke up with them, an opposing sect killed one's mentor, or one's daughter got married. A plethora of such instances could destabilize a cultivator's mental state, resulting in negative consequences. For example, if the cultivation technique one practiced had high requirements on one's mental state, then mental demons might even form. Thus, after many alchemists' painstaking research and experiments, the forgetting pill was created. Your cultivation partner broke up with you. That night, your heart suffered in the cold rain. You're overcome with sorrow, and that scene replays itself in your head all the time. Don't worry, have a forgetting pill, and the memories of that day will all be erased. Your mentor, parents, cultivation partner, and children were all brutally murdered. That bloody night covered your eyes. You're overcome with sorrow, and that scene replays itself in your head all the time. Don't worry, have a forgetting pill, and the memories of that day will all be erased. As long as one wrote down their experiences and recorded the outcome, then eating the forgetting pill would allow them to forget their most painful memories. Thus, this could prevent the consequence of forming mental demons due to the tragedies one encountered when cultivating. Everyone had their burdens to bear, and a cultivator's lifespan was much longer than mortals. Who wouldn't have some kind of painful experience in the long hundreds to thousands of years of life? Naturally, once the forgetting pill was created, it was highly sought after by many cultivators. From that point on, the number of people suffering chi deviation due to mental demons decreased greatly. Nonetheless, some people would use the forgetting pill to do some weird things. For example, evil female cultivators loved to feed their male captives the powder of forgetting pill. They would feed their male captives 8 to 10 times every night. As such, due to the evil cultivation techniques that those female cultivators trained in, their strength increased at breakneck speed. Shan Ao noticed that he seemed to have convinced shopkeeper Song and young shopkeeper Song, so he hurriedly said, 13th brother, I am your blood brother. You can't allow them to kill me. As long as you feed me a forgetting pill and send me away, then by the time I wake up, I will have already forgotten the memories of today's events. You won't need to worry that I will hold a grudge. What do you think? At that moment, Shin Ao's desire to survive went through the roof. He was a genius seen in the country of fire once in a blue moon and would enter the grand white grotto, heaven in the future. A bright future awaited him, so how could he die here because of an aggrieving misunderstanding? That was an absurd joke. Shin Tian thought that Shin Ao's arguments were reasonable. Thus, due to being a humanitarian and using brotherhood as a pretext, he decided to do his sixth brother justice. What sixth brother said makes sense. It's just a small misunderstanding, so there is no need to kill someone. Can I trouble Shopkeeper Song to buy a forgetting pill? Shopkeeper Song nodded and took out a bottle. There's no need to buy it. I have forgetting pills here. Everyone was shocked upon seeing the many pills inside Shopkeeper Song's bottle. Although the price of the forgetting pill could be considered cheap, even chi refinement cultivators could consume it. The main use of such a pill was to heal one's painful memories and dispel mental demons. Therefore, what was Shopkeeper Song planning to do while bringing around such a big bottle of forgetting pills? Rumors had it that some unlawful cultivators would go astray and become rapists. They would always carry forgetting pills on them to feed the girl after doing the deed. As such, the girl would sleep till the next day and forget everything. Was it possible that Shopkeeper Song was also such a rapist? Seeing that everyone's expression had turned strange, Shopkeeper Song hurriedly explained, Master Celestial, please don't misunderstand. The reason I prepared forgetting pills is for my good. Nothing son. My son is immature and frequently causes trouble outside. Spare the rod and spoil the child. I whip this brat pretty often to teach him a lesson. Young Shopkeeper Song's face gradually turned abnormal. Father, you've used a whip to hit me before. Why don't I remember? *CK, it can't be that you feed me a forgetting pill every time after you whip me to make me forget about it. Young Shopkeeper Song gradually turned angry. No wonder. Since young, he would always wake up with his whole body aching, but he did not remember anything. Whenever he asked his father, Shopkeeper Song would say it was due to him causing too many troubles outside that others held a grudge against him. Thus, those people would knock him out, beat the crap out of him to teach him a lesson, and throw him at his house's door every time. In addition, those people would always feed him a forgetting pill after beating him to prevent him from remembering and seeking revenge. That old thing even used those incidents as a lesson to teach me that the cultivation world was cruel. And in the outside world, I had to be good to others so as to not offend others. If not, others could put me in a sack and beat me up anytime. So, you made up everything. It's you who has been beating me up all this time. Young Shopkeeper Song had a mental breakdown. Chapter 69. Make a guess. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' young Shopkeeper Song was shivering in anger. How dare you? You finally spoke the truth. Shopkeeper Song looked at his son calmly and said, It's not the first time I told you this anyway. After the sixth prince consumes one of these pills, you will take one too. The young shopkeeper's mouth twitched. Why? Why should I eat it? Are you afraid that I cannot keep it a secret? Don't worry, my lips are sealed. Shopkeeper Song shook his head slowly and looked at the whip on the table. If you had not misheard Master Celestial's identity, this would never have happened. So, do you think you can get away with it without a proper lesson? Young Shopkeeper Song was rendered speechless. Damn! This old man is so harsh on me. Am I even your child? Shin Ao and Shin Tian felt very awkward as they watched the bickering duo. This Shopkeeper Song is a ruthless man through and through. To think he feeds his son a forgetting pill every time he beats him. Is he trying to toughen him up for the world's hardships by mimicking it himself? What a spectacular way of teaching. Shin Ao felt a chill coursing down his spine. The way shopkeeper Song thought was too abnormal, and Shen Ao was unable to comprehend it. He believed that it would be wiser for him to take the forgetting pill as soon as possible. Since shopkeeper Song has the pill with you, let's settle it as soon as possible. Shopkeeper Song shook his head again. This forgetting pill is low-grade and only works on qi refinement cultivators. The sixth prince has already reached the foundation establishment stage. You can make the pill lose its effect easily. Shen Ao quickly responded, no, I promise. I'll not do it. Seriously. Shopkeeper Song said, there is no way to tell for sure. Shen Ao tried to explain further, but he felt something hit him on the head and passed out. Bang! Okay, it's settled now. All we needed to do was knock him out, easy peasy. Shen Tian calmly stored his purple golden hammer in his Archeon C ring. To be honest, the feeling of the strike was awesome. He felt like Thor with that hammer and enjoyed the sensation a lot. Shen Ao lay flat on the ground motionlessly. Shopkeeper Song and his son looked at each other in silence, secretly admiring Master Celestial. They were calling each other brother just a minute ago, yet he struck him with the hammer without hesitation. After suffering such a blow, is the forgetting pill really necessary? Forget it, let's just feed him one to be safe. Shopkeeper Song forced Shen Ao's mouth open and stuffed the forgetting pill down his throat. Shen Tian nodded and said, my brother arrived in the Myriad Spirit Garden today, so he will forget about it. However, what about the wounds on his face and head? Shen Tian pondered for a moment and took out the healing pill Shen Ao had gifted him the other day. Karma indeed exists in the cultivation world. My brother had gifted me something, and I am now repaying him with that same thing. Interesting. After he was forced to consume the healing pill, Shen Ao's wounds started to heal. Quit staring at me, bring him out. Shen Tian said helplessly, let's pretend nothing happened today. Shopkeeper Song nodded and said, I understand. It's my fault for not teaching my son properly. Sorry for the trouble. Master Celestial, rest assured. I'll teach my son a proper lesson after we are done with the sixth prince. I will feed him with the forgetting pill. No third party will know what happened today. Young Shopkeeper Song. Shopkeeper Song frowned and shouted, yes. Do you have anything to say? Master Celestial would have never landed his finger on his brother if not for you. Don't you think you deserve a beating? Young Shopkeeper Song felt there was something not right in that statement but decided not to argue anymore. Dad. You are right. Shopkeeper Song scoffed and said, what happened today is related to Master Celestial's identity. It will be better if you forget it. I've been running a business for years and have a tight mouth. Who knows what you will say in the future about today's events? Can you be responsible for what happens then? Young Shopkeeper Song shook his head furiously and replied, Dad, stop. I'll take the pill, okay? Shen Tian nodded. You guys settle the sixth prince first. I have something I need to do right now. After saying that, Shen Tian walked out of the chamber. Eunuch Gui quickly greeted Shen Tian. Your Highness, you are back. Did Shopkeeper Song do anything to you? Shen Tian smiled and shook his head. He left the Sky Spirit Pavilion without saying a word. Eunuch Gui and Qin Gao looked at each other, feeling that something was not right. They quickly followed Shen Tian and asked, Your Highness, is there something wrong? Shen Tian replied calmly, the Divine Firmament Drager Pendant and Yin, Yang Mixed Divine Lightning are hot potatoes, so we cannot stay in Myriad Spirit Garden any longer. Let's pack up and return to the palace. Eunuch Gui nodded. Yes, Your Highness. In fact, Eunuch Gui wanted to suggest the same thing to Shen Tian. The yin-yang mixed divine lightning was too precious and would attract unwanted attention. Shen Tian was not exactly low profile these 2 days, so more powers like black blood might start to target them soon. The prince noticed it before I reminded him. He's a grown man now. If concubine Lan knew, she would definitely be happy. They packed their stuff swiftly, exited the inn, and left the Myriad Spirit Garden at night. Shopkeeper Song and his son placed Shen Ao in a giant box and transported him out of Myriad Spirit Garden when their neighbors were all asleep. They left Shen Ao under a big tree and observed from afar. After a few hours, Shen Ao finally awoke and looked at his body blankly. What happened to me? Why am I here? I cannot recall at all. Did I suffer qi deviation? But I should feel the pain in my dantian, right? Why does it feel okay? My face hurts instead. It feels like someone had been slapping me non-stop. My head hurts too. The Songs were relieved to see that Shen Ao woke up without remembering anything. When they reached home, Shopkeeper Song took out a forgetting pill and passed it to his son. I'll not beat you this time, just take the pill. Young Shopkeeper Song felt touched. Dad. Really? Shopkeeper Song rubbed his son's head and said, why would I lie to you? You are my son. You caused all the trouble, so I had to sound stern for Master Celestial to forgive you. Go back to your room and rest after taking this pill. Although young Shopkeeper Song felt something was not right, he was glad that he did not have to suffer the beating. Thus, he received the forgetting pill and swallowed it. Seeing that his son had left, Shopkeeper Song could finally heave a sigh of relief. He could beat his son any time he wanted. Thus, his priority was to ensure that young Shopkeeper Song took the forgetting pill. That was the most important thing to do. Finally, I can have a proper rest. Shopkeeper Song felt fatigue gushing over his body after he had settled everything. He bathed and fell asleep on the bed. The next day, Shopkeeper Song opened his eyes slowly, and what came into view was the excited young Shopkeeper Song. Dad! Why did you wake up so late today? It's noontime. Guess what? I met a little thief today. He's so ignorant that he pretended to be Master Celestial before me. Ha, I'm a celebeliever too. I knew he's a fake, of course. How could I just watch this guy making a fool out of our Master Celestial? Make a guess, what did I do to this thief? Shopkeeper Song almost fainted. Chapter 70. Something is coming out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Shen Ao was very depressed and felt that today was an unlucky day for him. He had finally reached the foundation establishment stage and was on his way to the Myriad Spirit Garden. He had somehow suffered qi deviation and woken up with a terrible headache. However, that was not the worst part since it did not really affect his cultivation. The problem was that he had heard some rumors in the Myriad Spirit Garden after going around talking with people. There was a called Master Celestial in Myriad Spirit Garden that was very good at assessing ores. His name was Shanaotian. This Master Celestial only assessed ores for people who had fate with him. Nonetheless, he had incredible accuracy, and among the dozens of ores he picked, every one of them yielded high returns. According to rumors, Master Celestial had even picked an ore that contained a supreme grade fairy calabash seed, which was ranked 36th in the spiritual wood list. Many disciples and even elders in the Grand White Grotto, heaven sought after such supreme grade treasures were sought by many. Shen Ao was tempted and decided to visit this called Master Celestial himself. He firmly believed that there was an unwavering fate between them since their names were so similar. It would be nonsensical if they were not fated. If Master Celestial could help him, he would not have to worry about choosing a gift for his master anymore. Thus, he started asking people about Master Celestial and soon learned about the Celiever's existence. In addition, he found out that the current Grand Elder of the Celievers was Sky Spirit Pavilion's owner. Shen Ao dressed and entered the Sky Spirit Pavilion. Unfortunately, the first person he encountered was young shopkeeper Song. Shen Ao quickly revealed his identity and hoped shopkeeper Song could introduce him to Master Celestial. Young shopkeeper Song asked him to wait in the guest room and served him a cup of tea. After drinking that best-grade green tea from Bailuo Peak, Shen Ao passed out again. When he woke up, Shen Ao realized he was tied to a cross. It was a secluded chamber, and it looked very creepy and familiar. This Sky Spirit Pavilion is a scam. Shen Ao felt aggrieved. Oh my! Why was I so careless? I interacted with my 13th brother a few days ago, I should have been extra careful. Sigh. I should have relieved Li of his duties that day too. Why was I so careless? Shen Tian, who had already reached his lawn palace with eunuch Gui and Qin Gao, sneezed. He could finally relax for a moment. He did not have to worry about his crazy fans in the palace, nor whether his brother, Shen Ao, found out what he was doing. A green halo was already hovering over Shen Tian's head, so gone were the days filled with bad luck. He finally had the confidence to focus on cultivation for some time. In the dangerous cultivation world, power and providence were equally important. Shen Tian decided to stay in the palace until he had enough power to beat his opponents. Although his halo's color had changed, it was only green and not enough. Shen Tian was aiming to reach the golden core stage with a dark green halo minimum. I need to be much greener. Oh, I received 3 cultivation techniques from that day. Shen Tian suddenly recalled the cultivation techniques Zhang Yunxi had passed to him. The divine firmament Drager pendant had directly engraved the techniques into his spiritual power, so Shen Tian could recall them easily. Decalamity was the forbidden chapter of the Lightning Imperial Sutra, and he could not learn it yet. Nonetheless, he could practice the other 2 without any problem. The first one was a Qi refinement cultivation technique, called 5 Heavenly Lightning Cultivation Technique. Only the Divine Firmament Sacred Grounds disciples were allowed to cultivate on this long lost sutra. The technique focused on matching the organs to the 5 elements and forming 10 types of powerful divine lightning. These were Azure Dragon I Divine Lightning, Wood, Cosmos 2 Divine Lightning, Wood, Crimson Phoenix 3 Divine Lightning, Fire, Soaring Snake 4 Divine Lightning, Fire, Mighty Qilin V Divine Lightning, Earth, Great Fortune 6 Divine Lightning, Earth, White Tiger 7 Divine Lightning, Metal, Heaven Emperor 8 Divine Lightning, Metal, Black Tortoise 9 Divine Lightning, Water, Heaven Empress X Divine Lightning, Water. The above-mentioned lightnings carried enormous power within them. If a cultivator mastered just one of them, they could walk in the eastern wilderness, undefeated. If one could master several of them, they would be a genius among their peers. Among these 10 lightning arts, the odd numbers, I, 3, V, 7, 9, were considered to have the character of yang. If the cultivator mastered all 5 yang-type lightnings, they could forge the pure yang 5 elements lightning. As for the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, X, they had the character of yin. If the cultivator mastered all 5 yin-type lightnings, they could forge the pure yin 5 elements lightning. When one mastered all the 10 divine lightnings and forged both pure yin and yang 5 elements lightning, they could merge the 2 of them and obtain the legendary yin, yang mixed divine lightning. However, the yin and yang-type lightnings by right should repel each other. Thus, training the other type of lightning after one type was completed usually led to backlash. As such, it was almost impossible for the yin-yang mixed divine lightning to be mastered. Rumors had it that in the Lightning Imperial Sutra's last forbidden chapter, Decalamity, there was a method to overcome this difficulty. That was the reason why the mixed divine lightning could be mass-produced 10,000 years ago. TSK, I did not expect this 5 heavenly lightning cultivation technique to be so difficult, complained Shen Tian. He had to learn all the 10 types of the 5 elements divine lightning and combine them slowly. This was too tedious, so Shen Tian lost interest. Suddenly, he thought of something and took out his mirror. The golden lightning mark was still on his handsome face. Shen Tian was very happy. Seems like I have all the 5 elements divine lightning already. Hee, let me give it a try then. Shen Tian took a deep breath and called in eunuch Gui and Qin Gao to watch over him. He sat down and started cultivating the 5 heavenly lightning cultivation technique. The order of which type of lightning was cultivated first varied individually. Normally, males were considered yang, so the yang type 5 elements lighting would be better, and vice versa for females. Well, Zhang Yinshi was an outlier. Some people were stronger with metal, and some were stronger with water, and so on. Shen Tian calmed himself down and gathered a pile of spirit stones. He followed the 5 heavenly lightning cultivation technique and started cultivating. Soon, he felt a pure divinity flowing inside him. Suddenly, his head felt numb while his stomach was in pain. Something is coming out. Shen Tian was shocked. Why is it so fast?